What's going on, everybody? C4 here, and today we're talking about the early free agency news. Only one big-time deal, and it is, in my opinion, was the top running back available on this year's market. And that is Carlos Hyde, who's decided to sign a 3-year deal with the Cleveland Browns. Not bad. I mean, Carlos Hyde coming off back-to-back 1,000-plus yard from scrimmage seasons. Almost average, pretty much what he's averaging about 1,200 yards and we'll say 9 touchdowns over the past 2 seasons, and has been relatively healthy because he's struggled to stay healthy throughout his career. It's a good move. If you look what's going out versus what's coming in, I'd probably rather Carlos Hyde than Isaiah Crowell. You have Duke Johnson there, who's a good receiving back. They move him all over the field. He plays a little slot, plays a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's a good player. But this kind of poses the question, what happens to the Saquon Barkley sweepstakes? Everyone thought that he was going to go to the Browns. Most people thought it would be at the number 4 pick, myself included. But some people thought, because of how he dominated the combine, that he would be the number 1 overall pick. That's just not going to happen with the quarterbacks that are in this draft class. So what does this mean? Are the Browns out of the Saquon Barkley sweepstakes? It seemed like a foregone conclusion. You paid Carlos Hyde like a starter. So we're going to go through the teams here. This here's going to turn into, I think, the Carlos Hyde deal. If we're not talking about the draft and we're focusing just on player acquisition, it's a good deal for the Browns. Carlos Hyde is a dynamic runner. He's 230 pounds, but he can catch the ball. He literally is like the same build as Saquon Barkley. Not the same type of athlete, not even the same category of athlete. But I think Carlos, if you told me right now, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, where would you rate that in terms of a running back tandem? That's not bad at all. Like, especially behind the Cleveland Browns. If you had to pick one strength of the Cleveland Browns, you probably would say their offensive line. At least on paper, their offensive line with Zellner. They just brought in Hubbard from the Pittsburgh Steelers to play right tackle. You got Treader at center. You got, obviously, the legend Joe Thomas. You got Petonio. Like, all these guys grade out fairly well for Pro Football Focus. They have a strong offensive line. And regardless of what they do at quarterback, whether it be at Tyrod, who's going to be the bridge guy, or look at something later on, they have a strong offensive line in place. And with those 2 running backs, that can do some damage. But it's just one of those things. It's like, why wouldn't you just want to get Saquon Barkley? Like, unless they know something that we don't and Saquon Barkley wasn't going to be there at 4, then yeah, do this. But I'm pretty sure Saquon Barkley is going to be there at 4. I'm going to pose that question, and then we're going to challenge my own question. So, at number 1, the Cleveland Browns were always going to go quarterback. There's no way. Tyrod Taylor is a bridge quarterback, and they're going to probably go Sam Darnold. They could go Josh Rosen. But it seems like they're in love with Sam Darnold's upside, and now that you have Tyrod in place, you can clearly just sit Darnold for a year, maybe even more, kind of depending on how long you want to replicate what happened with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre in Green Bay. But, they're going to go quarterback at 1. So then you go to number 2, and that is the Giants. And the Giants are the most difficult team to mock draft for right now because if you talk to Giant fans, you have 2 sides of it. You have in my opinion, like I said, it's only my opinion, and I'm an Eagles fan, the people that think they should go best quarterback available, be it Darnold or Rosen. Those are the 2 options there at 2. I think that's what they should do. I feel like the Giants very rarely are going to have a top 5 pick unless they trade up. And Eli Manning is like Tyrod Taylor. At this point in his career, Eli Manning is a bridge quarterback. Sure, you're bringing in Pat Shurmur, who got some good production out of Case Keenum. Could be a somewhat similar, little bit of a bump in production from Eli Manning this year. But just in terms of his age, Eli Manning at max has 3 years left. And you look at the upcoming quarterback classes, this class over the next 3 years probably could be graded as the strongest. Or at the very worst, Josh Rosen is the best quarterback prospect if you're looking at the current groups of players in college. I really do like Justin Herbert from Oregon, but I think Josh Rosen's probably the best quarterback that you're going to get from these next 3. It's obviously, we're just trying to guess at this point. But when you look at the names for what we've seen, I think Rosen's probably going to be the best guy between now and when Eli retires. And he's sitting there at 2. And you don't have to rush him in. You can groom him. It's the perfect scenario if you're in the market for needing a quarterback. Sit behind Eli. Learn from a Super Bowl MVP quarterback. And then you can, gradually give Josh Rosen some snaps. There's not going to be a quarterback controversy or anything like that. Well, maybe there will be. It's New York. And then you have the other side of not getting Rosen. You get Saquon Barkley. And, yes, he'd be the most exciting name to bring in. He'd get the hype going. He's the most explosive player in the draft. Probably the pound-for-pound best player in the draft. But how is he going to work? They have no offensive line. If the Giants can't land Nate Solder, which I think there's a couple teams bidding for him right now, their offensive line is going to be, without a doubt, like top 3 worst in the league. They lost Weston Richburg, who's a solid center. Looks like they're going to lose Pugh, probably the best offensive lineman last year. So, and if you don't get Nate Solder, that means you got Flowers starting. You got, literally, I probably can't name. The other guy, Chad Wheeler. You got, Adam Bisnawadi. Who? What? They're going to have a terrible offensive line. So if you're going to get Saquon Barkley and expect him to be the savior of the franchise, you can't, it's going to be what happened with Todd Gurley a year ago. Not last year, Todd Gurley, the year before. Teams are just going to go, okay, well, you know, they're either going to have to throw the ball quick slants to Odell because they can't hold up anything in pass protection, or let's just stack the box and stop Saquon Barkley every time. So at least if you go quarterback, that's forward thinking. If you get Saquon Barkley, he's just going to be ruined behind that offensive line next season. So I think the long-term gain at this spot, you got to go Rosen, right? Like I'm actually like if you're a Giant fan watching this and you either want Rosen or you want Barkley, let me know why. Like this is something that like, you know, it's tough from an outsider looking into the fan base, but I really just can't understand why you wouldn't go with the quarterback here. So then you go to the Colts, and the Colts are in a very similar situation where I actually think getting Saquon Barkley might be good if he's still sitting there for the Colts. I mean, the Colts could go Bradley Chubb, Quentin Nelson. One of those two guys would be good fits, but I just feel like, you know, get Marlon Mack. Yeah, he's Marlon Mack the guy. They moved on from Carlos Hyde. I feel like with Andrew Luck coming back, hopefully, fingers crossed, I feel like Saquon Barkley could be huge there for the Colts. And I honestly think if I had to pick right now, if I'm the Colts between Saquon Barkley and Bradley Chubb, I'm probably going Saquon Barkley, to be honest with you. Their defense played better last year, but I mean, you know, and under the assumption that you can't take, I think the perfect fit for the Colts at 3 would be Quentin Nelson to protect everything, but you just can't take a guard, I don't think, at pick number 3. So let's just assume they go Bradley Chubb, which isn't the popular pick. Then what happens for the next couple teams? Teams are going to be trading up, trying to get the quarterbacks, or even the Colts. Colts are in the best spot probably of all these teams to trade back for any team that wants to get the Baker Mayfield, the Josh Allens, whatever. So then you go to 4, you know, at 4. Do the Browns take him again? Do the Browns try to emulate the Philadelphia Eagles and just have a stable of running backs? Philadelphia used J.J. They used Corey Clement. They used LeGarrette Blount. They used all 3 of those backs. That would be, you know, Carlos Hyde, Duke Johnson, Saquon Barkley. That's pretty goddamn terrifying. I wouldn't pass the Cleveland Browns on doing that. I still feel like maybe a Minkah Fitzpatrick might be the better value there. But, you know, it's just... And then what happens for the teams outside of the top 4? I think that the Bucks probably looking at the top 10. I mean, you know, obviously some teams could trade up like the Niners or something like that, but I don't think any team's going to trade up for Saquon Barkley unless you're the Bucks. The Bucks desperately need a running back. They desperately need a playmaker there. I mean, their offensive line is not that much better than the Giants. I was kind of critiquing them for that, but I don't know, man. It just made the draft a little bit interesting. Who would have thought that just signing Carlos Hyde, which it's a good signing. It's a pretty good signing, would drastically change like the outlook that a lot of people have of the draft. So, what do you guys think is going to happen to Saquon Barkley? What do you think about the Carlos Hyde signing? Because I mean, ultimately, when you bring it back to the Browns and the 3 at running back attack, Carlos Hyde has struggled to stay healthy throughout his career. It's not like you're getting a guy that's super reliable. Reliable will not be a key term when you're searching up Carlos Hyde. So, you know, Saquon Barkley still might be in play for the Cleveland Browns. So, let me know in the comment section below your pick for where Saquon Barkley is going to land. Giant fans, I want to hear from you what you're feeling about that number 2 pick, because I'm getting ready to work my mock draft, and I have no idea what direction I'm going to go. So persuade me to go Josh Rosen, or maybe not. I'm going Josh Rosen until someone can persuade me otherwise that they're going to go Saquon Barkley. But that does it for me so far today. We might be back to talk about a couple other free agency signings, this and that. If it's your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.